everyone, and welcome to a special episode of Zeng This. It's been 20 years since Harry Potter first debuted, and we're going to be discussing our love of the Harry Potter books, movies, just the all-around, just Harry Potter-ness of Harry Potter. So you've got me, Zenger.
And I'm Ellie.
And we have a special guest joining us. All right, we have Ryan Cody from My Patronus is a Podcast and The Tig Show. Or the Illustrious Gentleman, sorry.
Illustrious Gentleman, yes.
So he will be joining us to discuss Harry Potter. So I guess let's start out with, how are each of us introduced to Harry Potter? Let's have our guest go first. Ryan.
Okay, so I didn't know anything. I mean, I don't know how old most people were when they got introduced to Harry Potter, but I was probably in my late 20s. And my wife at the time used to read to our children in bed. And she would read, and sometimes I'd be in there, other times I'd be out in my studio working. But if I was in there, I would catch her reading snippets of this book that sounded interesting, but I didn't really follow along too much because I would only hear parts of different chapters. And then one night, my son asked me to read to them, so I went and grabbed the book that she was reading to them, and it was like halfway through it, and I believe it was Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Mm-hmm. So it was towards the beginning of the third book. And I just read that first night, I just read it to them as their bedtime story. And then I think the next night I might have read to them. And then I eventually asked my ex-wife, like, what is this? And then she told me, and she had the first two books also. I had no idea. She had all three books. So I started reading from the beginning, and that was kind of my first introduction. That would have been probably probably about like 2002, 2001, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Ellie, how were you introduced to the world of Harry Potter?
The world of Harry Potter. I was also older. I think I was in my low 20s, maybe high teens. And I just absolutely fell in love with it. I knew that it was I guess, young adult is what they, coded it as, young adult or teen. But I always loved magic and wizards and dragons and that whole universe anyway. So when I found out what Harry Potter was about, I dived right in. So, and for me as well, we're even rereading it with some of our mid to younger
children,
not the babies, but not the oldest either, and we're enjoying reading it together chapter by chapter again, just to revisit it. It's always fun. So that was me.
All right, allow me to show my age real quick. I was introduced to them, and I'm trying to recollect back. I'm pretty sure, I can't remember if it was the first two or first three books I got as a Christmas gift.
Okay.
From one of my relatives, and I think it was the fourth one was when I actually started, like, I went back and started reading them. Like, for some reason we got them, and I kept on being told, hey, you should try out those books, and I kept on putting it off, and I finally decided to read them and kind of fell in love with them after that, because I was, like, right in that perfect age range of, I was close to the characters' ages, too, so I guess that it kind of, I was vaguely able to grow up with the characters as I was reading the books. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I was introduced to it. So yeah, but an interesting thing, and this is just showing the fandom of this series. I remember when the Half-Blood Prince came out. I'm just mentioning this one real quick because this is just showing, the level of fan that everyone is with Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I was actually in Europe during the time on a trip, and one of the people in our group was a diehard Harry Potter fan. She bought the book the day it came out. We happened to be near enough to a bookstore that she went and bought it and read it read cover to cover, probably I think in about 3 days.
Oh wow!
So I mean, she wanted to get it, and it's cool because she got the European version, which the cover and some of the stuff in it is a little bit different. Not drastically, but a little bit
enough to notice it.
But with that, what's everyone's favorite book or favorite? How about we do favorite book and character real quick?
Wow.
Okay. You want to go in the same order? You want me to go first?
Yeah. You're okay. A guest. Go for it.
So my favorite book is, for me, it's easy. It's Order of the Phoenix is my favorite book, and for me, it's kind of growing up. When I was 11, 10, 11, 12, 13, my favorite comic was X-Men, and it was a team book, and so I love the sort of team aspect of Order of the Phoenix, where you learn more about. I don't know. I guess to me, Order of the Phoenix is where the book series takes a turn and it becomes more adult, or at least at least a little more older. They're talking about the war with Voldemort and the coming war and the past war, and you're introduced to all these new characters that are adults. So to me, as someone who was probably 30 or 31 when that book came out, it really rang a bell with me. And so I love Order of the Phoenix. I think it's favorite, far and away my favorite book. Favorite character, that's kind of tough too, but it's probably one of the characters introduced in that book. It's probably Lupin or Sirius Black for me, and it's probably Remus Lupin. I think I have a soft spot for Remus Lupin, but so that's those are my two choices.
Great. Well, me, I really like Goblet of Fire.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably one of my favorites. I love the different competitions that they do. The whole storyline with I'm gonna forget character names now. The one that dies.
Cedric Diggory.
Cedric Diggory.
Yes. It was so touching, and in the movie, the when they have the scene with the father and the son, it's really good. But I liked it was just kind of fun to see all the different competitions and the different schools coming together.
Yeah.
That was a really cool thing for me. I thought it was neat. And except for Harry Potter, I just love his character in general. But Sirius Black definitely would be my favorite character, other than Harry.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm kind of going to go with Prisoner of Azkaban. And
Okay.
I actually, when I explain my favorite character, that might point to reasonings. But I don't know, something about that book I just enjoyed, the way the book was written. It introduced, some new characters and some new stuff into the universe, which I thought was very interesting. And my favorite character is Sirius Black, so...
Uh-oh.
With him being introduced in that, and Lupin's a close second,
Yeah,
to
he
be
is
honest.
really cool. I like his character.
So with
too.
them being introduced and, a lot of the stuff that happened in that book, I just kind of really enjoyed all of that. So.
Well, and the dynamics between those two characters is really cool. I like their story, their friendship, and it's really neat to see that. It was really cool with Sirius Black, because you're like, oh, he's a bad guy. And
Yeah, because the whole time you think he's a bad guy,
Yeah.
and it turns out he's actually, a good guy. And the whole, I guess the stuff with the fortune telling and, the black dog is a sign of death.
Right.
And his whole
From
thing,
in
like
the
what's...
tea, what they read in the tea, and yeah, it was really cool.
So I guess I really liked all that aspect of it. Everything in that felt very foreboding. So it was kind of their start to test the waters in being a darker series. So
Right.
So that for me was one of my favorite. I mean, the rest of the books are phenomenal. It's just that one's the one I think that really hooked me completely into some other characters to care about besides the main three, too.
Right.
Right. Yeah, and it's, in my mind, it's the best movie of all 8. It's my favorite movie, but it's probably my second favorite book.
Mm-hmm. And my second favorite book, ironically, would probably be Order of the Phoenix. Sorry, Ellie, Goblet of Fire. I wasn't really. I liked it. It's just something about like you said, the team up and everything was really cool.
It was funny, and I was sitting here trying to figure out what my answer was. I might be wrong, so please help me, everybody, because it's been a while since, like I said, we just started rereading the first one, so I can't remember all, but which one was the one that they really started diving heavy into the laws and the rules for the house elves? Like there was, Hermione she was really trying to campaign to get them more rights and everything, and I can't remember what book was that.
That was I think that is Order of the Phoenix.
Yeah.
'Cause there's a house elf at Sirius Black's house that she sees being mistreated, and
Right. So
Even though he's evil.
Yeah, could be Goblet of Fire though. I'm not.
See,
quite
I was
sure, but
thinking
it's
it
around
started in Goblet
Yeah,
of Fire,
it did.
and because when that movie came out, I was so frustrated because even though I know that these books are ginormous and they cannot get everything in the movie, obviously, I really wanted to see more of a presence of that because I really enjoyed reading it, but they really just obviously didn't have enough time to put that into the movie as well. So I think it was Goblet of Fire the more I think about it. So
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think you are, because I think it's the carryover of that is because I think I remember some of the like inner thought stuff where they were mentioning that you know that they had forgotten that she did the spew thing the year before when it is talking about the house elf at Sirius Black's house. So I think you are correct. I think it is. If she's wrong, please, someone on the internet will jump on that
But I think
quickly.
that's another reason why Goblet of Fire is my favorite, because it had that in it too. But yeah, so
It
sorry,
had a
moving
good-
on.
It had a good B, C, or D level story. And also, Order of the Phoenix introduced Dolores Umbridge. In my opinion, I hated her hands down
Oh my
more than
gosh.
Voldemort. Easily, if in my opinion, was a better villain at times than Voldemort.
That was awful. Yes. I hated her too.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the character, Ryan?
I don't know. I think, I mean, we could get political, but she's one of these people who thinks that they're doing right no matter what. So she doesn't see herself as evil.
And
the Ministry doesn't necessarily see her as evil, but she's just as bad as any other character because she feels so justified in what she's doing that's just as bad as someone who's someone who knows they're a terrible person is just as bad as someone who thinks they're always right and makes the wrong decision. So that's kind of her aspect, I guess, or my take on her character.
I enjoyed where they had the Dementors, where they were doing the whole... Oh, I'm trying to remember which book this is now. I think it had to have been Deathly Hallows, where they're at the Ministry of Magic and she's like doing that inquiry on people and they have all the Dementors in the room and she just has the Patronus of a cat wandering around her to protect her. And she's like completely fine being around these things that suck, everything out of people, and it's just apparently to her it's no... She can be around them with no adverse effects, sort of. So I thought that was a very interesting thing to do with the character.
Right, but I think that also goes to show, again, she always thinks she's right. She doesn't think anything she does is wrong. So to her, I don't know, to her, there's nothing wrong with that. Because they're there to keep out the bad guys. She doesn't see herself as a bad guy. So
Exactly.
Right.
You kind of mentioned it, Ellie, and I know that this might open a vague can of worms.
Oh no.
Okay, you said the whole spew thing getting cut was something that you did not like from the movies.
Right. I mean, like I said, I understood that they probably couldn't put it in because it's just hard to put that much into one movie. But...
Of course, the movies have a ton of stuff that, I mean, you're trying to take a book that can be upwards of 20 hours worth of reading into 2 hours, quote unquote, movie. So of course stuff's going to get left on the cutting room floor, and I don't want to do a what's the difference or a comparison between the two, but what are some of the things that you miss that they cut out from the movies, personally? Well, I mean, but if there's something besides the speed.
Oh, I mean, my main thing, like I said, it's been a while since I've read the books, so I'd have to reread them all to really remember. But my biggest thing is, like I said, I really enjoyed that whole story arc, and I was kind of upset that it really wasn't touched that much in the movies. So that would probably be mine.
I'm gonna go real quick. Mine's kind of just, I guess, the little interactions, where they kind of jam stuff in the movies to try to make, like, one class, like, 5 different things happen that took, like, several chapters in other books. So I guess it's kind of the speeding up of certain events. It kind of, I like when stuff takes a little bit to play out and everything in the books, instead of being, like, it has to be bullet pointed, which, like I said, I understand movies have to be done a certain way.
I don't know. When you guys just started talking about this, I started panicking because I really don't have any problems with the movies. I guess because I'm one of the rare comics guys who's also like a sports guy. So I wish there was more Quidditch in the movies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I wish the movies had been made at a time when the special effects for Quidditch could have been better. So it's hard to watch those first two movies and their Quidditch scenes. But yeah, I guess the only thing that to me that really is lacking is I would like to see more of the Wizarding world in general. I'd like to see more Quidditch. I'd like to see more of Hogsmeade and that sort of stuff. I'm not, and I don't know if it's because I'm a guy or because I was older when I got into the books, but I really don't care about the house elves. I really don't care about all the creatures in the forest and stuff like that. I'm focused mainly on the human cast because I don't know. That's just that's I've never been into other types of fiction that aren't kind of human storylines or human based. So for me, the movies were fine, but I wouldn't be against seeing more Quidditch scenes or longer Quidditch scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree that we do enjoy them. Do enjoy the movies and everything. It's just we just kind of wanted to take a moment to kind of because
and he's not alone with the Quidditch love.
Yeah, I mean
because universities actually have Quidditch leagues.
teams.
Yeah,
my son starts U of A in the fall, and one of the first things we're gonna do when I get down there is get a U of A Quidditch jersey.
That is awesome. No, that is so cool.
Yes.
Well, I was gonna have that be a topic in a little bit on what has the Harry Potter fandom affected in the world. So I guess we'll do that next.
Okay.
But I just
I want to go.
Hold on.
I'm excited.
Hold on. I was about to say I just wanted to say I enjoyed the Quidditch and everything. Like I said, I think we can all agree that we do enjoy the movies, but like I said earlier, and I'm kind of beating a dead horse. You have to cut stuff somewhere to accommodate the story. So meh.
Right, and like I said, I love the movies. Don't get me wrong. I'm one that I can separate a book versus a movie and understand that it's its own entity, and that you can't always do everything from the book, and I can enjoy them equally separately. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, right. it does.
Okay.
Did
my wife right now? Sorry, my wife right now is listening to all the audiobooks, but she only knows Harry Potter through the movies, so.
Right.
She'll come up and ask me questions like, I don't remember this or I don't remember that. And then that's when I realized that so much had to be cut from the movies.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I can also separate them, and it doesn't bother me, either way if something's cut out or something like that. It doesn't really bother me, but it kind of confuses her, so I have to sit there and explain everything. Which I like to do, so it's fine.
Did any of you guys see any of the movies in theaters? Because I'm wondering, because I had something very quick.
I saw every one of them in the theater.
I figured you would.
Yeah, I think I did as well.
Yes.
The other reason I wanted to bring up the difference between the movies and stuff that got cut is because I can't remember which one it was. I have the dates for the books, not the movies. Mm-hmm. I can't remember which one it was, but I went to go see it with one of my buddies who's a big Harry Potter fan too, and we were both sitting there, and I mean, I try to watch the movie for the movie. I understand that it's based on a book, but he would adjust himself in the seat, or I'd hear like every now and then from him because they were skipping over stuff. But the funnier thing was there was a group of girls behind us that I audibly heard throughout almost the entire movie going, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they skipped over this part," or I can't believe they. Yeah, it was funny because it had been a while since I read the book, so I was like, wait a second, I feel like I'm missing something, and I'd hear them chime in. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right.
That would frustrate me a little bit.
So it was funny because I had like an inner commentary around me of people being displeased with it, and it was funny because the second week we left the theater, I don't think I got like 2 steps out before he started saying, "Can you believe they cut this?" And I'm like, dude, I can't remember half the stuff. To be honest with you, but I was just wondering if anyone else had that.
You didn't know you were paying for a special edition version, the commentary version.
But I was about to say, did anyone else have that experience in the movie?
No. When I went, it was always pretty much opening night, and everybody were dorks and dressed up with their capes and their wands, and I mean, they were just so excited, and it was, it was like a quiet crowd until there was a scene where everybody cheered, and then it was quiet again, and then they cheered. So for me, I did not have that experience. Most of mine were pretty awesome.
Yeah, I never had those experiences. I mean, I went and saw probably from Order of the Phoenix on. I saw them all at the midnight showings, and yeah, everyone's just so excited. It
Yeah.
wasn't really an issue.
I feel like I went a week or two after it had been out, so maybe it was like
The people seeing it for the second time or
yeah,
something?
people seeing it for a second or third. I mean, like I said, it wasn't I was upset at that experience. Right. It was just a very unique experience.
Yeah.
While I was watching a movie to be reminded kind of almost the entire movie of where they cut stuff.
Well, on page 4, paragraph 3.
One of them did that. I'm not joking. She called out what chapter it was that they cut stuff from, and I was like, how do you know this? But that's once again showing the love and the effect that these movies have had on society and everything. So that's what I kind of want to discuss real quick now is what we all have seen the effect it had. I mean, colleges now have Quidditch teams, and Ellie, you're chomping at the bit for this, so I'm going to let you go.
I mean, the most obvious one would be the fact that they have a theme park. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's pretty huge,
Which
to have a theme park.
You went to. I know that you're getting ready to mention it.
Yes, so can I just say, when I went to, I actually did not go when it first opened. I went when it had released, there was one in Islands of Adventure and Universal, where you could take the train between the two, the Hogwarts Express. It's pretty awesome. But I remember, and I felt like a dork. So it's me, our 3 children at the time, and then a friend of ours, which was also a huge Harry Potter fan. So it was me and her, not my children, but this other child that was with us. And I remember walking through the park, and I'm like, where is it at? Where do you get to it? I'm looking on the map. I can't find it. I see, the double-decker bus. They have a few of the stuff for the Muggles. And then I'm looking at this wall, and I turn around, and I'm like, is that where it is? And so it's from just walking around the path of Universal, you see this brick wall near the other stuff, but then you kind of walk towards it, and you see there's a little entrance that you really can't see unless you walk right up to the brick wall. And you go around, and it's like, I instantly started bawling. Like, this is how embarrassing it is. Because I walk around the corner, and boom, it's like you're in, like, Hogsmeade and all this. Like, it's a complete replica. It is gorgeous, and it's just so breathtaking how much of the world, like, you really feel like you're stepping in there and you're transforming into this world. So I can't recommend it enough. If you've never been and you're a fan, you have to go to. It's just so cool, and they have butterbeer there, and you can get these wands at the wand shop.
They have gilly water too, because I remember you brought a bottle of it
pumpkin,
home.
And pumpkin water. They have replicas of a lot of that stuff, and I saved the bottles. But yeah, you can get the wands, and they interact with different stuff throughout the park. That it's breathtaking. I like I said, I literally cried. I was so excited. So that was me. I'm a dork.
Yeah, I've never been, but I want to go, especially now that they have one in LA now. They have one at Universal in LA.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I went to the one in Florida. Well, the 2 in Florida.
So, Ryan, what are some of the ways you feel the Harry Potter fandom has affected the world?
Yeah, I think the biggest and most obvious thing is it, at least in my experience, is it got kids reading again. I don't remember kids devouring books prior to that. And then when my kids were younger, between the ages of like 5 and 15, they read multiple books a month on various, they would read the Warriors series, which is about like talking cats and stuff. And then they would read all the Harry Potter books. They would read the Peculiar Children books. They would read
those are really cool.
the Artemis Fowl books. They would read everything. And I don't remember anything like that being popular prior to when Harry Potter got big. So I think it really did spark a movement in young adult reading that hasn't been seen in a long time. And it also just sort of, I don't know, it's become so popular that it's in the common vernacular. I mean, not everyone is, even people who've never seen the movies or read the books, they know who Harry Potter is. They know Voldemort. Right. They know, even like you said the word muggles, like everyone's going to know what muggles mean, whether they're even a fan or not. So it really has kind of impacted society in a way that, in a way that Star Wars did, or in a way that, other huge pop culture. I mean, I would say as big as Star Wars. So to me, it did sort of, and it does run the gauge. Does run the age gamut. So you have parents like me who are super into it, and you have my kids who really love it, and then I'm sure, one of us will introduce their children to it. So it really is something unique that hadn't come along in about 25, 30 years when it finally hit. So
I would, yeah, I definitely would agree with that. And for mine, I was going to make the Star Wars comparison because I was having a discussion. I want to say it was with David at one point.
Oh, okay.
About like what is the Star Wars fandom, is anything ever going to rival it? Mm-hmm. Like truly rival it? And he goes Harry Potter, and I'm like, oh, I don't know why it didn't click in my head as one, but it's just, I mean, that's gone from books to movies to just so much other stuff that I do say that one does. And I love Star Wars, mind you, I love it, but I feel that Harry Potter might be a little bit more appealing to a broader audience at times.
Right.
At
times.
I
can see that.
Just because, I mean, but once again, Star Wars only has movies. It has books and stuff, but it's based off of the movies, whereas Harry Potter's based off of the books.
Right.
Like, well, I guess Fantastic Beasts now is just
off
running
of a screenplay.
Yeah. Well, no.
No, the Cursed Child.
Cursed Child screenplay. This is off of a textbook.
Right.
So, jumping around, what do you Ryan? Have you seen Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them?
I have.
And Ellie, you have seen it.
Yes, we own it.
Yes, and I'm the odd person out in this. I don't know how I have not watched it yet, but I will remedy that soon.
Yes,
for reasons.
I'll watch it with you.
For reasons, but what do you guys think of this whole new universe that they're creating, or this whole new movie series that they're going to be creating based in the Harry Potter universe?
I absolutely love...
I'm not going to say prequels. I'm not going to say they're prequels.
I absolutely love Newt. I love him. I fell in love with him immediately. Just his demeanor and just his sincerity, just everything about him. And the I during this movie, I haven't read the textbook or whatever, but during the movie, I really was kind of soaked into the characters more than, like, the beasts were really cool. Like, it was really neat to see all the different creatures and everything, but just the interaction between the two sisters and I forgot his name. I'm so sorry. The other
the Nomad,
the guy, and then Newt. The four of them and their story and their journey, I just thought was so intriguing and so interesting. So I loved it. That was me.
Yeah, I really like it. I think, though, for me personally, and it's because I'm older, I prefer the later Harry Potter movies because they're a little darker and a little more mature. And I thought Fantastic Beasts went a little bit back to the first two Harry Potter movies.
Yes. That
were kind of a little too cutesy for me and really geared towards that sort of 12-year-old audience. But that said, I own the movie, and I'm excited about... One of my favorite things about Harry Potter, more so than anything else, is the world and the characters that they inhabit, or the world that the characters inhabit. So I'm excited to see movies based around the same rules and geography and mythos that she created. They don't have to be the same characters. Like, I'm not a diehard, like the big three Harry Potter characters. I'm not obsessed with them at all. Like, they're just vehicles to move the stories forward. So for me, more stories set in this universe, I think, is great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also, isn't this building towards, like, the Great Wizarding War that's supposed to be happening, too? Isn't that what these are supposed to be building towards?
I think so. She's already said, like, by the third or fourth movie, the movies might not even be about Newt that much anymore. So I think it's just a way to incorporate the entire universe into a new series of movies, I suppose.
I just wanted to say real quick on that note of, you brought up a good point, how this universe, it feels lived in, but it's also kind of our own world sharing a history. It's just what the book sort of reveal is a secret history of wizards and witches and everything and magic, which I think is really cool that they're able to do that, to where her world building is amazing, but she builds on the magical world while you know that the real world exists as its counterpart still being there. So I just thought that was a great way of her creating a very unique place for her books to take place in and for everything to grow from it.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, now, speaking of her creating stuff, I wanted to talk about this.
I know you've been wanting.
I know, and it's one of those things. I'm not trying to bring up Star Wars with this discussion, but I feel like it's inherently tied
will you
in.
leave Star Wars alone?
Ryan, what do you think of her of Rowling now going back and kind of saying, "I wish I had done this," or "I wish I could change this," or should have been this way now"? I mean, I know she's not completely rewriting the books yet, but what do you think of a creator going back now and being like, I wish I had changed this, or I wish this had been different?
I think it's fine because, like I said, I can compartmentalize all of it. So to me, if she wanted to go back and make changes, it doesn't take away my enjoyment of the first time I read those books, and it might add more to those characters. So I guess there is a part of me that wants like a solid canon story, but I'm not against like Elseworlds type stories, to use comic book terminology, or I'm not against odd tweaks to characters that might reflect in a different way on them when you first read about them, if that makes sense. So I'm not against it, and I understand it as someone who writes and creates stories and draws stories. Yeah, we all know that we can do better, so I'm not against it, and I'm sure it's just going to make her and Warner Brothers a lot more money. So I'm sure they're all happy with it.
Yeah, the one that stuck out to me is when she openly said that she regrets having Ron and Hermione get together, and it should have been Harry and Hermione. And that one to me, it just kind of, I think my eye was twitching. I'm like, why would you do that? Say that. But, I mean, you brought up a good point, which, I mean, to bring it into comic book terms, that this is a Elseworld, per se, story, or it could be an offshoot, or it could be, in a different universe. This is how it played out. So it has no effect on the main canon.
I think it's easier to do in comic books.
Yeah,
obviously,
definitely. It's done like once every two years with some places.
Depending on if it's DC or Marvel, yes, they just like, we're just kidding, we're just throwing that out, and this is what it is now. But I think it's harder with books.
Yeah.
I can see both sides. I can see where you don't care and you do care. I can see the other side of it where people say, just, you wrote it and be fine with what you wrote, and take ownership. That's what you wrote. And it's cool to reimagine other things. But as far as going back and redoing the books, I can see how that would frustrate people, because then they're like, well, which one is the one that I really want to know and love? But I can see both sides. I can see why some people would be upset with it and some people wouldn't.
Maybe I'm just a fan of Ron and Hermione getting together. It's just such a weird.
Let go, Justin.
It's just such a weird coupling that it's like it works because it's so strange and weird that I think it works. That he's just this. He's kind of somebody who's, I don't want to say
like
lazy.
They fit better together.
I don't want to say he's lazy, but he's just kind of whatever, go with the flow, and she's more like, I gotta do.
Right.
So it's just kind of funny to have that dynamic between the two.
I guess the one that frustrated me the most is when she's talked about Sirius Black, and that she shouldn't have killed him off.
You had to kill him. As much as I love that character, I feel there's a lot of points in the series that have to happen. Him dying is something that, I mean, it haunts Harry through, because he was in denial of him dying for, I think, a few books afterwards too. That he's like, I just expect him, just to pop back out from behind that veil and start fighting.
I mean, I disagree. I don't think he had to die. I mean, something else could have happened, but I mean, I see where you're coming from. Every one of these kind of stories, you have to learn and grow. The character has to learn and grow, and they have to have that tragic thing in their past to help them move forward. But I just didn't want him to die.
Well, I didn't either.
Darn it. But sorry. Okay.
I know another interesting one is, and this is something I don't know if a lot of people caught. I mean, I'm saying this, probably everyone's going to be like, yeah, we caught that. How did you bring that up as something that no one caught?
Right.
Tonix and Lupin dying during the Battle of Hogsward. I wanted to bring this up because they had a son that mirrors Harry.
Isn't it Tonks?
Tonix. Who did I say?
You're saying tonics.
Tonix.
Yeah, you're
sorry, my bad.
I'm like, what are you saying?
Sorry, my bad on the
Okay.
pronunciation.
Okay.
Which, by the way, everyone apparently pronounces Voldemort wrong. You're not supposed to pronounce it with a T, according to.
What?
Yeah, according to Rowling. Yeah, there's a. I have it in my notes that there's a tweet that she put out to where it's not supposed. The T is silent. Voldemort. I guess.
I don't know about that. I have the audiobooks, and Stephen Fry says Voldemort.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I listen to an audiobook too every now and then just to recap stuff, and I've read it, and everyone, even in the movies. And
Tomato.
I guess it's just something she went, yeah, I kind of wanted to pronounce this way, but I didn't say anything because I just didn't want to interrupt anybody. I guess that's what it is. Like I said, it was a tweet she put out, and I didn't know if I wanted to bring that one up, but since everyone's making fun of me for pronouncing tonics wrong, see, now you're messing me up.
Oh, just move on. You're gonna drive me crazy.
There's no I or E in Tonks.
Tonks. There.
Woo!
Happy?
It's like saying Warsh when people add an R.
No, it's not that bad. Even though I'm sure someone's gonna comment saying it's worse.
I'm sorry. Okay, I won't say it anymore. Let's move on.
No, but their kid dying is kind of a mirror to Harry. Is that, he's now, because I think he was like the godfather for the child, or is going to help watch over him and everything, and that's kind of an interesting thing to where he has an opportunity to help this kid that was put into the exact situation he was. Mm-hmm. But without, I guess, all the fame and stuff too. Which I don't know, I know we're kind of bouncing around, but that's kind of an interesting thing with this character, is that Harry Potter as a character in the wizarding world was, the super famous, and he didn't even know anything about it. Like, when he's meeting everyone, I thought that was a very interesting thing. When he meets people, everyone knows kind of more about him than he does. Mm-hmm. Which I thought was a very interesting thing for the books. I don't know if you guys have any opinion on that.
Oh, no, it's a cool storytelling technique, I suppose. To have your main character, to have everyone know about your main character before you do, is kind of a unique, fun way to write the character, I think.
This kind of brings, I guess, one of our first discussions about Harry Potter to an end. I'm sure that we'll probably be revisiting possibly the movies.
Yes.
At some point. Hint, hint. But moving on. Ryan, we brought you on here, and there's multiple reasons we wanted to have you on, but I think Ellie has done some research to I guess tell people about who you are if you don't mind.
I love people talking about me, so go ahead.
Well, first, of course, I want to talk about My Patronus is a podcast.
Okay.
Are you reimagining it? Or are you continuing? Like, what are you doing with that before? If you don't want me to talk about it, that's what I was wondering.
No.
Okay.
No, that's fine. So the idea was I would kind of go chapter by chapter, or a handful of chapters by handful of chapters, and talk about it with other creative professionals. But I realized that it's not easy to book other creative professionals on a weekly or bi-weekly basis.
Yeah.
And then I had to do one. So my first 2 episodes, I had 2 creators on.
Right. I have listened to both of them.
Yeah. And then the third one, it was just me because I didn't have any creator. And I realized there's no point in me sitting there reviewing a book that's 20 years old. So I think I am going to reimagine it and relaunch it hopefully soon, where I'll just have creative people on and we'll talk about their experience with Harry Potter.
Okay.
And then I might try to keep it chronological as well, like what do you like about the first book or something like that. So, but it's going to be more of a creator chat than an actual dissection, I think.
Okay.
Unless the person I'm talking to really wants to get into it, and then we can really get into it. But
no,
so it might be be that sort of thing. Like maybe I'll just choose a topic like let's talk about Hogsmeade for a half hour, and then if somebody wants to talk about that, we'll do it. But it's gonna be another little bit because I'm gonna try to get a couple episodes in the can before I start it back up again.
Or who your favorite Quidditch team is.
There you go.
Well, and I wanted to tell you thank you because I actually, I'd been thinking about rereading the books again, and then I saw your advertisements, and I love your Harry Potter deviant art. I think it's really cool the way I saw Hagrid and Dumbledore and Newt, and I saw a lot of the sketches that you had for the Harry Potter ones, and it really got me excited, and so I want to thank you because that's kind of the reason that myself and my 10-year-old are starting to read the books again, and then we were going to listen to your podcast, and so it'd be kind of fun to discuss it together and kind of bounce off whatever you guys talk about. So I really want to thank you because I thought it was a really neat idea.
Oh, I'm glad you guys are reading it again. I'm sorry I ruined the whole podcast experience for you, but it's
no, there's more to come. See, we have something to look forward to.
Yeah, there you go. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, not a problem. And I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit too, just about maybe some projects that you're either currently working on or you've done recently. And there's one in particular that I just wanted to mention. I just love the name. So I found Country Ass Whoopin', a tornado relief anthology.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, holy crap, this is the best title ever.
You are the third person in history to ever bring that up. And one was the guy who contacted me to draw it. It was the publisher, Kevin. And one is the writer, Jason Aaron, who asked me, have you ever seen a copy of that? And then now you are the third.
See, thank you.
Yeah, that was for a charity book.
Okay.
For I think a tornado that went through Alabama and decimated maybe some rural communities.
Okay.
And so I did a 6-page art. I drew 6 pages of a story Jason Aaron wrote, but it's not something I really ever see out there. Or it's not something that I've ever even. I think I've only signed once. I think I've only signed one once.
Okay, well, you can't with that kind of title. I had to talk about it. It's just awesome.
That's all Jason Aaron. It has to do with Alabama football stuff.
Well, thank you. And then I was wondering if you could kind of go into a little bit of detail about the TMNT 100 project. Are you penciling on that, or are you penciled on that?
Yeah, I did. So the Hero Initiative is a charity that I've worked with a lot, and I've done the majority of their books.
Okay.
So
I saw a lot of 100. I saw a lot of them that had 100 listed. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of those. Ninja Turtles is the newest one that I've done.
Okay.
They do have a Wonder Woman one coming out.
Oh yes. Awesome.
I did not work on that one, but I've been on most of them.
Okay. Well, that's exciting. Awesome.
Yeah, and those are all charity books, so you get like 150, 125, 150 pinups, and all the money for all the book sales go to the Hero Initiative. So it's a great charity.
That is great. Okay, great. And then let's see. And so you illustrate. Is it Monstrous for Dark Horse? And is that a co-create too, or just a illustrate?
That was I just drew that, and that was a 3-part series that took place in Dark Horse Presents a couple years ago. And so that was just a create your own thing at Dark Horse that never. So Dark Horse Presents is used as kind of a launching pad for potential series.
Okay.
So that one didn't get the green light, but Dark Horse is releasing in 2 weeks. They're going to release a 360-page hardcover book of a book I did called Doc Unknown that I drew.
Yeah, I have that listed. That's a adventure series. Can you go into a little bit more detail about what that's about?
Yeah, it's kind of a noir detective set book in the 1940s, and Doc Unknown's our guy who has no powers, but he can he fights monsters and demons and ghosts and parallel universes and all this good stuff. And
I know that sounds really interesting.
So I originally drew that book for a guy named Fabian Ronhell Jr. who does books for Black Mask now and IDW. He's drawing a new Samurai Jack book right now, or he's writing a new Samurai Jack book now.
Okay.
And so we completed that a couple of years ago, or about 2 years ago. We completed the third trade of that. We did all three, and Fabian did it all through Kickstarter, and he self-published it.
Oh, wow.
And then Dark Horse said they were interested in publishing the entire series into one hardcover. So they're doing that, and it comes out, I think, in 2 weeks on July 19th.
Okay, yeah,
Awesome.
we'll have to check that. Now, is that color or is that black and white then because of the noir?
Yeah, no, it's color.
Oh, it is
yeah,
color.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what, and then the other stuff I'm working on now, really none of it has a release date, but I'm working on a couple books now. But yeah, the complete Doc Unknown through Dark Horse is kind of the next thing that's coming out that I'm attached to.
Okay, great. Definitely have to check that out.
The thing I wanted to point out is I kind of got introduced to you through and I know that this has been mentioned before, but the Illustrious Gentleman podcast.
Right.
And I can tell you the exact episode I started on was the Alien versus Aliens episode.
Yeah, that seems to be the popular one.
And I just want to say I'm sorry. I'm with Scott on this one.
Yeah, but it doesn't. You're Scott's age. you might be younger than Scott. So I stand by my answers and my opinion that if you're younger than 40, you're going to choose Aliens. If you're older than 40, you're going to choose Alien.
I completely understand. Like I said, I understand. Here's the thing. I know that without the first one, without aliens could not exist. It's just for me. I guess I'm drawn to that one more. Now, maybe when I turn 40, all of a sudden I'm going to be like,
It'll
what?
Switch.
You know what? That Alien's a really good movie.
Oh, you'll learn to appreciate it. Trust me.
All right. Well, I'll keep that in mind in years to come.
All right.
But no, I just wanted to say, getting into that show was just so cool. And if you want to just tell some of our listeners what to expect, or what you guys do on there, would be great.
Yeah, so the Illustrious Gentleman is a podcast Scott and I started just over a year and a couple days ago. The first episode came out, and Scott, if you guys don't know, Scott is an artist currently working for DC on Superman, and he's a friend of mine. I've known Scott for about 8 years, and we get together and we have a cocktail and we talk about what's on our mind, or else we have a topic that we tackle and discuss, or else we just kind of BS what's on our mind. And it's a way to detox and relax from a career in full-time freelancing and full-time parenting. We each have, we both have three children. We both freelance full-time, so it's a way for us to just chat with each other, and then we record it, and hopefully other people like it. So that's kind of our business plan with that, I suppose.
Well, I definitely am a fan of it, and I've been listening to it for a while now. So thank you for doing that. It's I enjoy listening to it every Monday. So.
Yeah, we appreciate you listening to it. It's a lot of fun.
So Ryan, where are some of the best places for people to find you? I mean, aside from the ones we already mentioned.
Well, you can find me. I guess the best place for me is you can go to just if you're on Twitter, you can go to @Ryan Cody, and then there's a link to my website in my profile. And if you're a podcast fan, which I assume you are, if you're listening to this, you can go to tigshow.com, www.tigshow.com, and all the episodes of The Illustrious Gentleman are up there. And once I get the My Patronus podcast going back,
Woo-hoo.
that's on Twitter @MyPatronusPod. So, but if you just go to @Ryan Cody on Twitter, click on my website link that's there, you'll be able to find everything else.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks again for being on the show. I know that you're a big Harry Potter fan and everything, so we wanted to have you on. And
yes.
I'm sure this might not be the last time you'll appear on this show. So
yeah, no problem.
So maybe down the road we'll have you on for maybe more Harry Potter stuff. Hint.
Sounds good to me.
Yay.
All right.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
All right, we're back real quick. We don't have Ryan with us. We're just doing our closeout stuff. Mm-hmm. But due to the magic of editing, I have since the record of that and now watched Fantastic Beasts and where to find them.
Good job.
And I'm excited for what's to come. It was really cool to see adult wizards and stuff. Mm-hmm. Kind of knowing their stuff, but it's one of those things to where I want to see where this goes. It's definitely a good start, and it was really cool to see a lot of the Fantastic Beast.
And you know what was really cool? Mm-hmm. So, for everybody out there, I think people know by now we have kids.
Yes.
And it was really cool. We were actually, one of our daughters and I were reading through the first book again. Mm-hmm. And it was neat because the chapter where we were reading was when Harry Potter
gets the book.
Yeah, well, he's getting his supplies for being a first year. And one of the titles of the book was
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by Newt Scamander.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And our daughter was like, oh, that's, she was so excited. So it's really cool, how it's kind of neat to see the movie and remember, they mentioned it, in the very first book. So.
Yes. I don't think this is the last time we will discuss Harry Potter. Hint, hint. I don't know how many more of those I can do before I have to explain what that is, but you know what?
Ellie is wiggling in her chair. She's so excited.
But you know what? That's for another day.
Yes.
Of course, we're going to go through our basic run-through. Check us out on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, and Tuned In. And if you go to iTunes, what do you do on iTunes?
Zing this and give us a 5-star review.
We'll read it on the Monday episodes of the podcast.
Yes.
And if you go to Facebook, you can find us on there. Of course, Zeng This.
Yep.
If you want to tweet at us,
tweet.
we love getting tweets. You can go to Twitter.
At Zeng This.
And on Instagram, it's
at Zeng This Podcast.
And you can find us playing games on twitch.tv/ZengThis. Mm-hmm. You can, of course, help support the podcast by going to patreon.com/ZengThis. And if you want to find us on YouTube,
go to Zeng This. And
just search Zeng This. If we can get to 100 followers on there, it will be youtube.com/ZengThis.
Right.
So help us out.
And then if you want to comment to us, just have a question, a show idea,
or
whatever.
Just let us know, just any, we love reading fan mail. It makes our day.
You can email us at zingthis@gmail.com. And
also, if you want us to read it on the podcast, just put a little note in there saying, hey, I would like this read on the podcast. Because I'll normally respond to people and everything, but I just want to make sure that some stuff, I don't know if people want it read or not. But we would love to read and respond to it on air to you. But finally, AA Ron is our sound guy, and DJ Golden Boy, as always.
89, play us out.